Hey everyone, how's it going? In today's video, I just want to quickly go over some tips and information that I learned that isn't quite as obvious as you would think it'd be. Now, all the information I'm going to be providing you is from the Prelude 12, so things are definitely subjected to change. We're going to start things off by looking over the weapons. Now, when it comes to weapons, there are a few things to pay attention to. First is attunement. This is basically what virtue you have to put your points into to have that weapon damage scale. So just increase that virtue to increase the damage of that weapon. Next would be looking at your attack and charge attack damage to see which one's higher. And then lastly would be the smite. This is how often you'll be able to pull smite enemies, so the lower the better. For example, 1 in 20 is better than 1 in 50. And I'll touch on this a little bit later. When you right click your weapon, you'll have the ability to add in what are called totems in this game. There are two ways to obtain these totems. First is freeing the critters from the cages, and secondly is playing your flute. Now these totems do come in 3 tiers. The first tier is brown with a little bit of green. Second tier is kind of a lighter brown, maybe a khaki with some purple. And third tier is gold. Now when we're on the enhancement page, you can slot in up to 3 of these totems into one of these 3 slots, and depending on where you slot that totem, you will gain that respective bonus. Now technically, if you have 3 of the same card, you can slot that same one into all 3 and reap the bonus of that entire totem. The totems themselves can also be upgraded. As you can see up at the top by my name, I have a currency, and when you click on one of the totems at the bottom, it'll tell you how much it'll cost to upgrade it. Now in the center is an empty circle that could be slotted with what is called a moat. You get these through killing bosses. At least that's where I got mine. And when you slot that in, you can see you'll get another totem slot, and this moat can also be upgraded. The last spot you want to look to upgrade your weapon is actually in the Nightfold, talking to your blacksmith. Here you want to click on the Reforge, and you'll be able to see what weapons you're able to upgrade. Of course, you need to have all the materials. Then you click on the journey and you'll be able to add a journey. Now choose whatever one fits best or that you like the most. And remember, this is an instant upgrade. Alrighty, now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and rapid fire a ton of things here. First off, when you die as your bird, you can actually fly faster by holding down spacebar. And as of right now, there's no penalty for dying, so go ahead and go crazy. When it comes to the world map, in order to remove all the fog, you have to find all the trees. So down in the description, I'll put a link to an interactive map that will show you where all the trees are as a helpful tool to make life easier for yourself. With the map open, you can right click to put down a single marker to help you in navigation. Eventually, those trees can be used as fast travel points once you obtain a Webbit seed, which you can obtain from the Brewer of Hues in Nightfold. When it comes to the animal animations and even the tree animations, to skip through that, all you have to do is double tap spacebar twice. If you go into the settings and go to the accessibility tab, down at the bottom it has always show compass and always show reticle. I would at least say have the compass always showing, and the reticle can be useful. Also, go in here and turn off some of the other things that are quite annoying, like screen shake, motion blur, and if you want, adjust your controls. There are 2 enemy types that require a little bit more than just hacking and slashing them to death, and those are the ghostly ghoul and a giant version of the hound dog. Both of these require you to use spectral sight and rip out the soul once you've dropped their HP to 0, otherwise they will continue to come back and attack you. You'll often notice that enemies turn a certain color. When they do, you can do what is called a pulse smite, which is essentially using spectral sight and left clicking, similar to, as I just mentioned, in killing those other mobs. It'll rip the soul out, dealing damage, and will provide an instant cooldown to the specific skill of that color. Since we're talking about combat, let's touch on a couple of these combat tips. First, kick is used to break their guard, so when they're blocking, instead of just continually spamming left click, give them a nice good boot to the chest. You also have the option to parry. How do you parry? Well, you just need to block right when they're about to hit you. You'll then perform a riposte, and then you can attack. Now, if you spec into your weapon upgrades, there is one that allows you to block heavy attacks, which is pretty bossy if you're trying to be a parry god. If you want to be sneaky, all you have to do is crouch up behind the enemies and you'll perform a backstab attack. This can be done with the staff and even your sidearms. Your character is also able to perform a few heavy damage attacks. Usually when you stagger the opponent, you'll get an opening to do so. Like when they fall on the ground, you can do a ground one, or when they fall to their knees, you can walk up and stab them in the chest. And the last combat tip I have for you is how to throw your weapons. All you have to do is press your block and heavy attack at the same time. You press it again so your weapon will return to you. There are world bosses all over the map, and from what I hear, once you defeat them, they're on a 3-hour timer. When they are up and you are able to do so, definitely go kill them because they do drop the fragments you need for new armor and weapons. In your travels, you will come across this merchant. What you want to buy from this guy is everything that is 10 or less in stock. Those are usually the rare materials and often take a lot of time to farm. Speaking of farming, definitely want to attack all barrels, especially when you're underground, because you never know what will be in there. Usually some solid materials can be found, and definitely a lot of gold. One of the best spots to get a lot of steel, iron, or brass is at Fort Curlell. I've also seen in the global chat, people are curious, what happens if I make a bunch of weapons? How do I get rid of them? You can actually come to the camel and click up here where it says sell, and you can sell whatever weapons you don't want. The next one is for when you're walking around towns that aren't fully discovered. If you look up at the top where your compass is, you'll see kind of this little ghostly black thing flying around. That lets you know that there is a memory here that you can acquire. And then the empty slots show how many more you need to essentially reveal that area. And there you have it, 20 plus tips to help you out on your adventures. If you found these tips helpful, show some of that free love down below with 2 clicks of a button. And I'll see you guys on the next one.